In this video, I'm going to talk to you all about how to build your own sponsorship cookbook so that you can put together custom sponsorship packages easily and give sponsors what they're actually looking for. Check it out. Let's dive in and talk about how to build out your own sponsorship cookbook so that you can easily make customized sponsorship packages. Before we dive in, I'm Chris Bayless, founder of the Sponsorship Collective, where we help sponsorship seekers grow their sponsorship program. If you like this video and you want us to keep making free content just like this, give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and make sure you click the bell icon so you never miss an update. This video was inspired by this quote. I have no idea who actually said it. So if you can find out, drop it down in the comments for me. Amateurs have a recipe, masters have a cookbook. The recipe in sponsorship is the gold, silver, bronze grid approach. The cookbook approach is to have a pool of information that you can draw from so that you can build custom sponsorship packages. Now, what does it matter if you look like an amateur or a professional? Well, the fact is, sponsors don't want to do business with amateurs. They want to work with professionals. So you don't want to show up with a recipe. You want to show up with a cookbook. The fact is, when you have just a recipe, all you can make is one thing. When you have a cookbook, you can make an infinite number of combinations, which lets you customize just for that particular brand, for that sponsor, and lets you reach out to more brands and onboard more sponsors. In sponsorship, you should be customizing every single sponsorship package without exception. You should never be sending anyone a stock package with a grid, with levels, no gold, silver, bronze, or any other name. If you're doing sponsorship, you should be customizing. If you are doing anything other than customizing, you are really leaving money on the table. I know what you're thinking. Customized sponsorship sounds like a lot of work. Well, it is, but that's irrelevant. You're trying to get sponsors, not trying to do a thing that takes as little time as possible. You can get to no thank you very quickly. And the way to do that is to send people a standardized stock sponsorship package with grids and levels. If your goal is to get no sponsorship fast, keep using stock packages. But if your goal is to get sponsorship, it doesn't matter if it's hard or how long it takes. In order to get sponsorship, you have to follow the rules of the game. Amateurs have a recipe. Masters have a cookbook. In order to build out your own sponsorship cookbook, you absolutely need to know your audience. Your audience is not just people who engage with you. Your audience includes at least 25 data points on your macro audience, but then you should also have a really clear understanding of at least 3 micro audiences or avatars or niches. You want to be able to describe your audience in its entirety, as well as these 3 sub-audiences. Minimum 25 data points per audience. If you don't know who your audience is, I have news for you. Your potential sponsors can tell, and that's why they're not interested in working with you. In other words, the recipe you've chosen is not one they're interested in. Step 1, this is absolutely foundational. You must know your audience in great detail. Sponsorship is nothing more than audience and access to audience. A wise man, I'm looking at you, Mark, says that sponsorship is nothing more than you, the sponsorship seeker, being a curator of audience. Without audience data, you simply do not have a sponsorship opportunity. Once you know who your audience is, then you can come up with your list of amazing activation ideas. You want to create incredible experiences for your audience. These amazing experiences are called activations and should completely replace the old, boring, gold, silver, bronze tiered approach. What you want to have is a catalog of amazing ideas that make your audience incredibly happy, that you engaged with them, and that your sponsor can use to connect with your audience in meaningful ways. No one ever showed up to a property, to an opportunity, to an event and said, I sure wish there were more logos on this stage. What they say is, I wish I had X. You have to know what X is. And that's why we need to know who our audience is in order to practice sponsorship. Build out your catalog of amazing experiences. Don't put them in a sponsorship package. Don't send them to a sponsor. Instead, you want to build out this catalog so that you have something to draw from when you're sitting down with a potential sponsor, brainstorming ideas around their sponsorship campaign. Completely making up what you charge sponsors is an absolutely terrible idea. It's a terrible business idea. You running a business based on numbers you've just completely invented that aren't market tested is not sustainable. But it also forces you to use a grid. And if you use a grid and gold, silver, bronze, or any other name, you are going to be dismissed by sponsors. Not knowing how much to charge is a critical error. In order to build your sponsorship cookbook, you have to know what each individual asset you're going to offer a potential sponsor is worth. Without knowing your value, you simply cannot customize. What you do instead is you default to the grids, hoping the sponsors don't notice that you don't know your audience, that you don't have amazing experiences, and that you're completely making up your value. Your sponsors will notice, and that's why you're not having luck with your sponsorship program or you're not hitting your goals. Then, after meeting with and discussing with a potential sponsor, you can go back to your cookbook and then mix and match amazing audience experiences, amazing assets. You can decide which audience segments you want to connect your sponsor with. In other words, you can go back to your cookbook and pick 5 specific recipes that together get your sponsor the outcome they're after and give your audience an amazing experience. 6 social media posts, 18 e-blasts, 45 logo placements is not high value to your audience or to your sponsor. And frankly, it's not adding anything to your property. Now, once you've got your sponsorship cookbook built out with your values, your activation ideas, your audience information, then you can use this information to create custom proposals. An easier way to make custom proposals is to use what we call at the Sponsorship Collective a hybrid proposal, meaning certain parts of your proposal will be standardized, like your history, like your audience data. Certain parts of your proposal will be completely custom. You will have a bank of activation ideas from which you will draw so that you can put them into your hybrid proposal. Then you are only really customizing certain pieces of your sponsorship proposal after speaking to a sponsor. So you're not building from scratch every single time, but you're not using stock, boring, old sponsorship packages every single time. You want to find that sweet spot right in the middle. And the absolute most important thing when it comes to using your cookbook is to build proposals with your sponsors. In other words, you don't want to send your proposal to a sponsor, having never spoken to them. Instead, you want to have a meeting with a potential sponsor, figure out what they're trying to achieve, what audience they're interested in, how they measure return on investment, which of the amazing activation ideas that you've come up with would work for them. And then together, you're going to co-build a sponsorship proposal based on their needs and all of this amazing information you have about your audience so that you can create great experiences for your audience and great experiences for your sponsors. The other thing about building proposals with your sponsors is that the likelihood you will get sponsorship goes up by a lot. You're also not sending spam to people you've never met, hoping they will just magically pick a sponsorship proposal off the shelf based on a valuation you've completely invented. All right, so drop down below in the comments your biggest takeaway from this video. What's the one thing you're going to implement right away? And if you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you gave me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you never miss an update. And remember, the sponsorship proposal does not make the sale. You do. Good luck out there.